So if you want to know what it takes, like the hard skills, what the nitty-gritties of B2B marketing or lead generation is, what I've done is I've written down all the skills and broken it down into 7 levels. About the first 3 levels is something that I think everyone can learn at the very easy. I mean, everyone. Someone who has just passed 10th standard can. And then after that is something where you actually start to use problem solving skills, and your expertise will come up. So what I've done is I've broken these levels down into 7 levels. First one being the easiest, last one being that you are the ninja at it, right? So this is also over here. I've written the 7 levels. I'm going to run you through like why do you need these skills, right? And what is the incorrect way of doing it, right? And how do you make sure you're doing it right? Or if you have your own company, how do you structure your team so that person above can check, and you can give this video and tell them why they need these skills, etc., etc. So very first thing is VLookup. I'm not going to get into VLookup, but what it basically is a very easy way of combining two different databases data together, and in a very structured format, right? So just look at it. Basically, if you don't know how it works, it's going to take you hours to do the same thing. If you know how to use VLookup, it's just going to take seconds and drag and drop. And also, see, VLookup is a skill that you will need most of your life. So in B2B marketing, what happens is we are working with only databases, email database, LinkedIn database, calling database, and then combining all that database, CRM database, blah, 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 right? It's very important how you know how to combine those databases, how to structure them, right? And even if you go in some other company, every company uses spreadsheets. So if you know VLookup, it will make your life easier. Funny thing, in my own family, we have a Google sheet of what to eat, what not to eat by per person and their favorites. And sheets come handy in personal life also. My budgeting is done on a Google sheet, personal budgeting. Other is done on Zoho Books. So the way is like if it works for you, Excel is gonna say okay, it is working, and you can see. Otherwise, Excel is gonna give you error, or Google Sheet is gonna give you error if VLookup is not working. The second thing is how to set up a RDS, which is a remote desktop service, and LinkedIn automation tool. So this is a video I also did, right? It's a 43-minute video on my YouTube channel. Go see it if you have not. Basically, what it does is if you're just starting into lead generation, you can just set up your and you don't have time, you can just set up your LinkedIn automation, and you have to set it up on a different computer because your computer is gonna shut down and do a bunch of stuff. So yeah, so do this so that there's also another thing, like if you set it up on a different remote desktop, the logins become limited. Otherwise, what happens is if the login is of a client or for some other person, there are multiple people who are working on the account login, one from Bombay, one from Chandigarh, one from Delhi, right? So LinkedIn is going to ban you. If you set it up on an RDS, which is a remote desktop service, you can do it via Google Compute Engine. Just search on it. It's on Google Cloud, and you can set it up pretty easy. And what you need to be careful of is you have to be very careful that when you're doing this LinkedIn automation, when LinkedIn starts to push you out, it starts to force sign you out or starts giving you CAPTCHA, because that means LinkedIn algorithm has started to catch up with you. At that time, just pause this LinkedIn automation for a while, for a week, and then restart it very slowly back up again, right? The very next thing, and by the way, these are the skills my team has mentioned over here. Like I can ask them, how many stars do you rate yourself in each skill, right? And this is their average, this is their total. Okay, so next is using outreach. Can you outreach using suppression list on LinkedIn? So basically what happens is, one of the easiest thing we give to our new joinee is to connect to people on LinkedIn in a manual way and start sending them messages. But we also give them a suppression list of the clients that our client has, so that they don't reach out to the current clients, right? Now that's a tongue twister, but basically what happens is So I don't want to reach out to my current client and show them their case study, right? They're like, actually, what are you doing? Like, where is your mind at, right? So that's why suppression list is a list of clients that we ask our people not to reach out to while reaching out to everyone else in their universe. So this is a thing which requires attention to detail, right? And you cannot do two things at once when you're doing this. Also, suppression list is the outreacher. So if you are reaching out, outreachers' reputation at stake. If I reach out to their client once again, they were like, you know, like this guy does not have brain. Let me not do my current business with this guy. He's just sending me LinkedIn messages while I'm already working with him. Right. The worst thing that in this thing can happen is if client points you out that, dude, you messaged my current clients. At that point, you have done a big mistake. Uh, An internal QA system is like, if you are a manager to this person, what you can do is you can take your suppression list, open all those profiles on LinkedIn, and see if they have messaged them. Open the message box, right? Don't message them, but see if they have messaged them. If they have not, they're doing a good job. If they have, first tell the person, dude, this has gone. Then tell the client this has happened and apologize to the client and say it won't happen. Show proactivity, right? Don't let it slip away because they will catch it out probably. Next thing is, can you use email database tools? So this thing is still people don't know, but basically what you can, there are multiple email database tools that have this huge database with them of millions of people that you can search, sort, and export, right? Or you can scrape data off LinkedIn using tools like DuckSoup, right? Where the moment I go on a LinkedIn profile, it gets all the data that's on the LinkedIn profile and puts it in a clean Excel file, right? Or find that lead. Find that lead is a Chrome extension. If I pull find that lead up, let's say over here, uh, and I'm on Airtable, it's gonna give me, you know, email IDs of people on this, right? So also they have a prospector tool. That means I can go and find that lead and put my criteria like 100 to 500 employee companies. I want their only CTOs and I want them in, you know, health industry, right? So then they will only give me that list and I can export that list against a small payment or credits, right? So every person should know this because while they're doing LinkedIn and everything, this can also be done simultaneously. So you can side by side your LinkedIn is going on, side by side you're building your email database, and that's very much in sync, right? Uh, so it's the easiest way to find email IDs, but not the perfect way, right? Perfect way is to do manual searches. And the next thing is, so you can mass a search and export like I told you. The worst thing that can happen if you're taking too much time to find these emails from these tools. In these tools, it will maximum take you half an hour to get the email IDs. If you're not getting them in half an hour, basically if you're not getting an exported database in half an hour, you're doing bad. If you're doing one by one, of course, it's gonna take you time, 10 seconds on each profile. But yeah, if it's taking too much time, something is wrong. What also do when you get these emails are not perfect, right? They might be just guess, like they have guessed, okay, we see the pattern of this company. For example, in my company, the pattern is first name at the rate my company domain, right? So if someone does not know email ID of like Mehvish, which is another person in my team, they can just put Mehvish at the rate BizAmps, and then probably they will land up in the right folder. And because it will land up in the right folder because that's our company pattern. So some companies guess the company patterns like this, but that is not always the case, right? Sometimes what happens is people, just to avoid spam, what they do is they're gonna put they're gonna change the format of the whole company, right? They're gonna put an extra word, an extra number, just to throw these spammers off, and they do. In that case, what you can do, you can create a disposable email ID, and from that disposable email ID, you can actually send real emails and check the validity if these email IDs are valid. Next is LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So this is, I would say this would go like kind of in the second, just before the LinkedIn automation. Basically, the world's database is LinkedIn. The world's professional database is LinkedIn, right? You have people put all their information over there. It's public. It's unlike Facebook where there is like huge privacy issues. And if you don't know how to create a search, sales navigator search, where you can exclude the profiles that it's coming in the results, and you can make a perfect kind of, you know, sales navigator search. There is room for improvement. And the reason because is in B2B, a lot of is based on database, and database main source these days is LinkedIn, right? So you make sure you know how to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator. They also have a job section. So most of the companies that are selling something usually determine that these people are actually, they have the money and they have the need is after looking at the job posting these people have done. So you should know how to at least have an idea on where you can find these job posting, and can tell another person who does this for a living, that scrapes data, to get me all the information on the name of the companies that is doing this, and then take the name of the companies, put it in LinkedIn Sales Navigator or in the email prospecting tool, and now you have built a database. Now with VLookup you have started to sort the database. Maybe you have also on LinkedIn you have started to connect with them and started sending message using suppression list, or maybe you have automated, but you have started to, you know, your level 1 has started to complete, right? One of the way to see if your sales navigator search is good is if you see that less than the search navigator results, take a screenshot of it and send it to the client, right? And ask them how many percentage of them are actually good results, like the right people. And if they say like 50-60%, then something is wrong. That means you need to go and exclude. There's a feature called exclude in sales navigator. You need to exclude certain titles or exclude certain things, then it will work, right? um, Also, the good thing about this is like we sometimes, even before we get a client, right, we usually go to Sales Navigator and search like how big is their target market. Like, you know, we determine their size. How big is their target market? What would be the strategy if they have only 1,000 people? I did a video called 4 variables for B2B marketing strategy, and I kind of send it to every client. Basically, it shows how the target market size you're going after determines your strategy, right? So Sales Navigator helps us even before we get a client. Next thing, you can also see how many contacts are really, you know, active on LinkedIn, right? Because you will be scraping maybe data off LinkedIn in some case. Um, you can you can see a bunch of stuff, right? You can plan your whole campaign based on this.